Prepare yourselves for an unexpected tale of power plays, eccentric HOA rules, and the relentless pursuit of a suburban fire department to ensure public safety. Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having an absolutely wonderful day today. Today I have two stories for you from the FHOA subreddit. This story comes to us from Zerbo, one fire department's humble fight against an HOA. Just throwing out this story because I know you folks will get a kick out of it. While I am fortunate enough not to live in a neighborhood with an HOA, I'm a firefighter for a suburban district that is chock full of them. Big ones, small ones, old ones, brand new ones, HOAs effing everywhere. For the most part, they aren't a hassle. They gate off their private roads, but as long as they put a sensor on it or a padlock that uses our standard department key, it's not an issue. Enter the Views. The Views are condos built in the late 70s, and as far as I can tell, the only view they have is of a freeway on-ramp and some eucalyptus trees. The Views were built along a narrow road that starts and ends off of the main road, making one big loop about a quarter-mile long with a couple cul-de-sacs branching off. It's important to note that the driveways for each end of the loop are about 30 feet apart off of the same road. The Views have a lot of older residents, so we're there semi-frequently for medical aids, people smoking out their kitchens when they forget about the food they left on the stove, and even the occasional structure fire. Responding there is annoying because they build speed bumps about every 25 feet along this loop. So once you're in the Views, you're not getting anywhere fast. Annoying, but it's a private road, so they can technically build as many speed bumps as they want. Enter the chain. About a third of the way along the loop from the first driveway, there is a chain across the road, padlocked to a steel pole on one side. It's a generic master brand lock to which we do not have a key. Why is it there? What does it do? Why would anyone build something like that? The answer to all three of those questions is, who the F knows? The chain has been in place as long as I've been working at this department, and no one can tell me exactly why it's still a thing. Phone calls to the HOA regarding the chain went unanswered and unreturned. The problem with the chain is its location. If we're responding to an address that's closer to the first driveway, but just past the chain, we would have to go the long way around to get there. The operative word here is would. When COVID was really ramping up in early 2020, we were at the Views a lot, sometimes 2 or 3 times a shift. Approaching from the main road, we always take the first driveway, because F taking the long way. Someone called 911, we're gonna get there quickly. That's what we're paid to do. So when the address came up on the other side of the chain, it was unanimously decided that we take the path of least resistance. Enter the bolt cutters. Every time we needed to get to an address past the chain, I would hop out of the engine, grab the bolt cutters, and snip a link. Chain goes down, engine and ambulance go through. Simple solution. After about a week of this and many mysteriously replaced chains, the enigma of the chain was finally revealed. One night, as I have a hapless link firmly in the grasp of my bolt cutters, I hear a shrill shriek. Stop! A middle-aged woman comes speed walking out of the condo right next to the chain. I'm the HOA president. That's there for a reason. I want to hear all about that reason, but we're here for a response, and the clock is ticking. Snap, another link is broken. The chain falls slack, and onward we go. We resolve that we'll stop by her unit after we clear the call to let her know what a nuisance the chain is, and that something needs to be done about it. This course of action was ultimately unnecessary, as HOA president took it upon herself to huff and puff after us as we drove away, and came speed walking up again as we pulled up to the response address. I went inside with the ambulance crew, but I could hear her shrieking at my captain outside. We wrap up the call, get the patient loaded into the ambulance, and she's still going off on him. What it basically boiled down to was that she took it upon herself to install the chain because she didn't want people using the road as a thoroughfare. The reasoning behind this is an utter mystery to a rational mind, because it's a loop that begins and ends on the same road, 30 feet apart. No one is using the Views as a thoroughfare. The chain got installed where it is because that's where her condo is. She demands that we just go the long way for addresses past the chain. We explain that it hinders response time. She does not accept this. It takes my captain asking her that if her unit was on fire and we were responding from the other direction down the main road, would she want us to take an extra minute going the long way or just cut the chain and get to her unit faster? She acquiesces that she had not considered this, but also refuses to do anything about the chain. War it is then. Every opportunity we got, we cut that effing chain. Never maliciously, only out of necessity. But it was necessary to the point where it was getting comical. A pile of snap chain links lay discarded in the gutter. She made numerous attempts at peace. What if we just notified her when we needed it unlocked? Yeah, no. What if we just cut a link on one end instead of down the middle? Sorry, middle is faster. What if she gave us a key to the lock? Sorry, but if it's not the department-issued lock, we're not going to take the time to dig through the key box. One day, as I hopped out to gleefully cut the chain, as always, something was different. Zip ties. Tired of buying new chains, or perhaps the chain fund had dried up, the HOA president had resorted to zip tying the chain back together where we had cut it. She even attached a tag saying, "Fire department, cut zip tie only." After consulting with my captain, we decided upon the most prudent course of action. I didn't have a pair of scissors on me, but I sure as crap had a pair of bolt cutters. Snap, dead center in one of the remaining lengths of chain. And so it went as the chain got gradually shorter and shorter and became more zip tie than chain. Despite her rushing out of her condo when the engine pulled up to the chain, we were always faster with the bolt cutters. The chain has been fully replaced a couple more times, and the same cycle has ensued, until one day last week when everything changed. Enter the gate. As we responded to the views, we pulled up to the chain. I already had the bolt cutters out and ready to go, only to be greeted with a most unexpected surprise. Where the chain had once stretched across the road, impotent in the face of our departmental onslaught, now loomed a two-armed swinging gate. A beefy one too. They definitely assessed some new HOA fees to pay for this beast. On cue, out came HOA president. This time, she said nothing, only crossed her arms in defiance and looked on with a smirk. I assessed this new obstacle for a second. Too thick to ram through, plus that would damage the engine. Tubular steel mounted on a concrete anchored post, so no just lifting the gate off the hinge. "Looks like you'll be taking the long way from now on," she said, clearly having played out this exact scenario in her head countless times since having the gate installed. And she would have been right, except the arms of the gate were secured by a length of chain wrapped around and padlocked. I looked straight at the HOA president as I lined up the bolt cutters on a chain link and the padlock shackle. Snap! I have never seen someone visibly deflate the way that HOA president did at that moment. I pushed the gate open and the engine drove through. As I climbed back into the engine, I heard her call out, "At least close it behind you." I probably don't need to tell you that I left that bitch wide open. The icing on this cake is that we sent out a fire marshal to check it out. While the chain technically met the definition for impeding emergency vehicle access, we let it slide due to it being so easily bypassed. The gate, however, was a massive violation of county codes. Despite being a private road, the number of residents along the loop in the views stipulated that any gate shall be automatically opening and have an emergency vehicle sensor. The gate fits neither of those criteria, so boom, 30 days notice to remove that crap or face massive fines from the county for impeding emergency vehicle access. So, in summary, we waged a years-long battle against one HOA president's desperate grasp to control a problem that never existed in the first place. And if that doesn't capture HOAs in a nutshell, I don't know what does. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Firestorm V1. It says, "The only way this could have been better is if the jaws of life were used to render the gate into scrap. Or a body saw." Bravo. Another commenter down below named Thomas Cameron said, "First off, thank you for serving your community. There is no greater sign of love than taking care of folks. Tip of the hat, sir." Second off, am I going to hell for giggling like an idiot when I read the end of this? I literally chortled out loud. This is so perfect. I completely agree with the first commenter. I think a hot saw should have been used, and that gate should have been taken down completely for impeding access and making it take longer to render aid to people who need it. We're talking about lives here. We're talking about property here. But HOA Karen gets to put up a gate just because she doesn't want people driving by her place? How does that work? I think we're just gonna say it here, if you're at odds with the fire department, there's a 99.9% chance that you're a douchebag, and you're wrong. This story comes to us from VladVlad666. HOA wants a war. I live in a rural area on a family farm. The farm next to ours was sold to a developer who built a bunch of mini mansions that have an HOA. Now, the mini mansions back up to my family farm. I get letters every week from the HOA complaining about the tractor sitting in the field at the front of my property, where it can be seen from the street. We're working that field, and the tractor is necessary. I've had them complain about my barns, outbuildings, the sound of the large tractor when I'm seeding, and once have my grandfather saw some people he didn't recognize checking out the barn, went out with his double barrel 12 gauge to see what they were up to. They were HOA inspectors who declared their right to inspect the building to make sure it met HOA rules. My grandfather is not politically correct, and I was pleased he restrained himself from using buckshot to register his opinion of the trespassers. And yes, our property is fenced and posted. I was informed by the HOA that they were going to fine me $1,000 a day until the offending striations and machinery were removed. I informed them that I and my property are not part of the HOA, and if their inspectors set foot on my property again, I would have them arrested or let my grandfather loose with his double barrel. They went nuts and called the county sheriff's office. Having lived here for generations, I know the sheriff. He came out and asked me what was going on, and I told him. He also visited the HOA and heard their demands that he take immediate action to protect their inspectors. They were less than happy when he informed them that since my property is posted and fenced, I was well within my rights to not allow them on my land. Also, because of our livestock, a 12 gauge is not unreasonable because of predators. He also informed them that as I am not a member of the HOA, I have no requirement to allow them on my land, and if he gets another call, he will arrest the inspectors for criminal trespass. I have since been sent a letter from the HOA's lawyer telling to cease and desist all operations until they get the court date, because they are suing me for damaging the value of their property. I forwarded it to my lawyer who, after he got done laughing, was amazed. First, because a court has to issue a cease and desist order, and secondly, we've been here farming for 4 generations. I have spoken with the HOA board and told them to leave us alone, or we'll be more than happy to play our lawyer is better than their lawyer. I was informed that the developer of the property assured them I'd be selling my land for development to an organization like his. That has since resolved into the ether. They were more than a little surprised when I told them that we're currently training the 5th generation to take over, and we have no intention of selling our farm, period. Seems the developer left them with the impression that I was selling my property to be developed like my neighbors had been, only to make his money and run. God have mercy on overzealous HOAs. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called the Jersey Guy. It says, "You need to start raising pigs immediately. This will definitely get their undivided attention and respect. Then, when you offer to have them purchase your hog farming operation for a good price, they will pay and then shut up if they are even half-wits. But I bet they're not. Yeah, pig farm, that's the way to go. Have fun with it." Another user down below named Techie Guy James says, "No, chickens. A chicken farm is the way to go. When the wind gets just right, you can smell them from 3 miles away. And it is pungent. That's the one animal smell you can't get over." Wait a minute, so what I'm getting out of this one is we need a pig-chicken hybrid, because something that could supply me with bacon and eggs on the daily? I need that. Yeah, I don't understand this one because I would really rather look out my window at a nicely kept farm where people are making a living and just doing their thing rather than onto the next door McMansion that has a bunch of Karens and Kevins in it. I mean, come on. This story comes to us from Cthulhu. HOA got entire subdivision banned from pizza delivery. Disclaimer, I did not live in this HOA, but I did live down the street. Okay, so we're gonna set the Wayback Machine to circa 2000 on this one. Gas is cheap, cell phones were small, and my Ford Escort got amazing gas mileage. As the now ex-wife and I were struggling with our bills, she decided that the easiest thing for her was for me to get a second job, to try to catch up and then get something into savings. Having seen the sign in the window of the local pizza shop, which was named after a popular game played with small rectangular pieces that was advertising $12 to $16 an hour for drivers, that was a lie, she badgered me into applying. Fast forward a couple of months, and I have settled into my mind-numbing routine of working 60 to 70 hours a week at 2 jobs. On this particular day, I was scheduled to work on Saturday, which was hit or miss for tips. You see, our delivery area was very nouveau riche. Combined with scattered groups of Florida rednecks, you would have a gated community with McMansions and BMWs right next to a trailer park. Oddly enough, the smaller the house and cheaper the car, the bigger the tip, which factors into the story. On this particular Saturday, a local HOA was throwing a pizza party for the residents. I think they were celebrating the last house being sold, or moving the HOA from the developer to the board, or something. Anyway, they ordered a ton of pizza. So much so that the manager had scheduled extra kitchen staff and had them show up an hour early just for this one order. He even gave them a discount on the pizza since they ordered so much. There were so many pies that it took myself and another driver 2 trips apiece to deliver it all. When we got the last boxes of pizza delivered, the manager wrote a check for the total, couple $100 in change, rounded up to the next dollar for our tip. So I left and went back to the store. The manager asked me how much of a tip that I got, to which I replied 87 cents. He didn't believe me, so I showed him the check. He then asked me if I was messing with him and if they had given me a cash tip. Nope. He went off. He walked over to the phone, called the manager of the HOA, cussed her out for not tipping his drivers after he had discounted the order and scheduled extra staff just for her order, and told her that he was entering that entire subdivision into the computer as "do not deliver." He then hung up, opened the cash register, and gave each of us a $20 bill for a tip. To this day, I have no idea if any of the residents were ever able to order from that store. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Aero Maestro. It says, I get that the HOA is framed as the baddies here, but tipping is effing stupid. Also, you've been successfully conditioned to blame the customer for your employer not paying you more. If you and your manager were expecting more money, why give a discount? Wouldn't it just be simpler to charge a flat rate and not get mad at someone for not paying you the extra money neither of you agreed upon? F mandatory tipping. I think the one thing this brings to light is that North American tipping culture is really effing weird. I still think that the boss in this story is a bit of a butthole though, because tips aren't guaranteed, they're not required, but they are recommended. Now, don't get me wrong, I tip all my delivery drivers and I tip them quite well, but I'm not required to. So in this case, I think the boss took things a little bit too far, because you can't cut off a whole neighborhood because of something the HOA did without tipping. I mean, okay, quietly in the store, sure. Give your employees some money out of the till, that's a nice thing for you to do because you're not paying them enough in the first place. So yes, you are the one that should be making up for that tip. Alright, in the comment section down below, let me know what you think. What is tipping culture where you live? Do you have it? Do you not have it? How much do you generally tip? And if somebody doesn't tip, who is that on? That person? Or the employer who's not paying their employees enough in the first place? Comment down below and let me know. Check out both OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.